What's going on, you guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Enjoy the Ride podcast. We are so excited about today's episode as we have a very special guest, Alexa Gruber, on the show today. Alexa, incredible person, incredible coach. You actually spoke to our community before on the topic of pregnancy, so not going to give it all away, but without further ado, Alexa, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me again, guys. I know I haven't been on your podcast before, but I've spoken to your audience in the Facebook group, and that was great. And I feel like that was a couple years ago, maybe. So
Yeah.
It was
a lot
wild.
has changed since then too. I don't even know if that topic was like really my niche then, but happy to be here. So,
Yeah, and I think you were newer in that area, and like that's definitely what we want to talk about today. Just because I feel like your journey up until this point has definitely been a little bit of
yeah.
I don't want to say a crazy one, but because you started with like in-gym personal training, right?
Oh yeah, like it's been a wild ride. And I didn't even I feel like God really put me in this space. I wasn't really set out to be like, you know what I want to do? You know what I want to be? Coaching people and helping their fertility. Like it's just not really what I set out to do. But yeah, it's been almost like a 10-year journey, really.
Wow.
I graduated from Eastern 2015, exercise science degree, soon got married, moved, became a personal trainer. But this whole idea and getting into coaching and all of that has really been, it was just really stirring in me from the time I was 10. I mean, I was a little girl and I already kind of knew that I wanted to serve people in some sort of capacity.
Mhm.
And, it's crazy, but I found when I was in college, I found an old journal that I had. And those little girl journals, they like prompt you questions and stuff to write down.
Yes.
And, this it's the classic little girl journal.
The Frank journals.
Yes, those. And, this one even had like a hair like scrunchie tied to it. It was just like amazing. And the question was like, well, what do you want to be when you grow up? Like write down all these things. And I was like, wow, like here, like I didn't put down like teacher or like veterinarian or like any of the classic vocations. I literally wrote down, I want to help people make good decisions.
That's awesome.
And I was like, what 10-year-old does that? And I was like, that's me. Okay, I'm like literally inspiring myself right now.
That's great.
But yeah, it's really been in me from a very early age. And then once I got into college and kind of doubled down to the exercise science world, and in the back of my mind, I knew I wasn't going to be a career woman because I really did want, at the end of the day, I wanted to be raising my family.
Mhm.
That's truly what I wanted to be doing. And I knew that I didn't go into biomechanical engineering or anything like that. I didn't do that, but I did get into exercise science because at the end of the day, I knew that I could still help people and raise my kids. Like I could still coach or personally train people. And I was like, I know people do this, and I know they're able to make their own schedules and they're able to be like their own boss, right? And then entrepreneurship. And in hindsight, maybe I should have taken a few business classes at Eastern, but I didn't. But then here we are, 10 years later. And when I first started out, I know you're like, how did you even get into this niche now? Because I certainly didn't set off like that. But pregnancy, postpartum, all of that has always been an interest of me, kind of just for personal reasons, because I knew that I always wanted to be a mom. So I just wanted to educate myself and set myself up for success when that day would come. And then from there, when I started training clients, and I was very passionate about serving women, so I only train women and female. I only have female clients.
Yep.
From the beginning. I was just helping so many of them in a one-on-one setting really get healthier, and like that was their goal at the end of the day. But then what wound up happening was that just kept getting pregnant. Or then some people started coming to me and they're like, I want to get healthy for pregnancy.
Yep.
And like topic just kept coming up and it just kept snowballing. And I was like, oh. And then, flash forward to now, and this is definitely a topic that is very hot right now because getting pregnant isn't easy anymore.
Yeah.
If I'm just putting it if I'm just going to be very real with you guys. And, people who are in their 20s and 30s, they can't conceive easily. And it's definitely a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I feel
It's
like
very emotional. It's very emotional.
And I think I see so much more of that fertility conversation and fertility coaches and things like that. It's not always in the realm of like health and wellness, but you can't have one without the other. So I do think it's just talked
Yeah.
about so much more now, like just infertility in general and things like that. So I think it's great having people talk about it because someone might not be as willing to like come out and say that they're experiencing infertility. So I think it's helpful that when we have coaches and things that just outright talk about it and then are helping people, I think it's like so impactful.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was really just an organic snowball effect because also like I don't knock on people's doors or DM them be like, "Hey, are you struggling with your fertility?"
Yeah.
It's such a private matter.
Yeah.
You know, like I don't operate my business like other business coaches would say like you should operate your business.
Yeah.
I just don't. And I trust the Lord that whoever comes into my space and whoever um sees my content or, you know, word of mouth or is referred to me or whatever they're supposed to, and they're able to come into my world and then share if they on their terms and if they want to, if they feel safe doing that, because who am I to say? And like it's a very private matter.
Yeah.
You know,
No,
some
totally.
people, yeah, it's just like it has to be on their time and their watch if they want to bring something up like that, right?
Yeah.
So what is it, if you want to kind of explain to the people that don't necessarily know you, so what do you do now when it comes to like coaching and fertility and all of that?
Yeah. So I have a couple one-on-one clients still, but we operate virtually. And I got into the virtual world before COVID hit and before like everyone was like forced to do Zoom calls. Because Tim, my husband, he was in the military. And so we moved around a lot. And this was a way that I could still keep in contact with my clients that I had met in various different places around the East Coast.
Yep.
And still continue to train, right? It was amazing. But now flash forward to now, and we have a family and all that. It's just I can still operate, you know, when I can, here I am in the middle of nap time talking to you guys, like this is what I can do. And so from that, honestly, I have a couple one-on-one clients, but I'm very particular on the people that I take on as clients now because I can be. And now having years of experience under my belt and working with enough one-on-one clients in this space, I put together my own self-paced course and kind of my own process on how to be able to walk yourself through, you know, getting healthy for pregnancy. Yep. Or, you know, getting healthy in general, right? And like, what's the process look like? And so I know it's not for everyone, but it also answered the question of like, hey, well, do you have any other more affordable options? I'm like, well, this is absolutely like, you know, this is your ticket. This is your solution to that. So it hits all the nails on the head. So those clients that are within my course, they're very self-motivated and they can walk themselves through the course, and I give them a calendar and kind of like a template, right? It's like, okay, you don't have to be married to this. This isn't an absolute, but take it like 80% and then make the rest like what you need it to be. So it's been like this beautiful, like I said, again, like very organic process on how I've gotten to this point, but it just feels really, really good. I'm able to help people one-on-one, very limited, but then also I'm able to serve a lot more people through the course.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's where I'm at right now.
And again, it's been incredible to seeing you shift to this and build this to where it's at right now. Just because, again, like, you know, when we graduated Eastern, I know you were a little, you know, a few years older than us, but just being like the online fitness coaching space, like just helping those, like, you know, build muscle with working out, with their diet, and kind of see where you took this now. Like, Alexa, it's amazing to see just, again, what you're able to build from this.
Thanks, guys.
No, absolutely.
I remember when I first made my page too, like it was in the middle of the night and I was up with my son and I was just scrolling social media. I was like, I just paused for a minute and I was like, what am I doing? If I'm going to be on this platform, I'm going to make it valuable and I'm going to put out there in the world what I want to put out there. And so I literally remember that moment because it's also scary to like be like, okay, well now I'm going to shift and I'm going to start like sharing things and, you know, have my own business. Like that's kind of crazy.
And I think it's hard too because like now, like you said, pre-COVID, like online coaching, obviously it was still a thing, but it's like saturated in the last like 4 years that like everywhere you look, it's just like online coaching, trying to sell you their program and things like that. So I think obviously yours is like stand out and it's so niched of specifically pregnancy, but like you said, at the same time, there's such a big need now. It's ever growing. So I think that, and when you provide a valuable service and you have, client testimonials and everything like you have, it's, you're going to be successful because, you're putting in the work and things, but it is hard. It's way harder now compared to before when it just there weren't coaches.
People weren't talking about it.
Yeah. But now,
like
and then also there's like all these self-proclaimed coaches that it's like, what do you have? Like, what accreditation and validate, all that do you have? And it's hard, but you obviously have like a ton of certifications, things like that. But yeah, I think it's great to be able to spotlight other coaches as well that are in the space. Cause I think, ultimately there's so many different choices of who someone can work with. And I know we've both recommended people for your program, especially if, we have worked with individuals that are trying to get pregnant or, postpartum, and it goes really well. But there are other people that maybe are struggling that I don't have the background in that. So being able to recommend. So I think, having you here is awesome, and being able to just spotlight, another coach is great for just the industry, because we all do kind of something different. Although we try to get to the similar end goals, I think for our clients, I think it's great when we have like specific niches to be able to be like, if you need help with this, these are your go-to, or, things like that.
Yeah. Just furthering the fitness and wellness kingdom. I mean, it's like churches, right? Like all the churches are important to the Lord, but they all have their own kind of like flavor and style and all of that. And it's like, I mean, you can't go wrong at the end of the day. Like you got to figure out where you fit.
Definitely. Yeah. And then that kind of brings us into just talking about like the industry, and, you go on Instagram, TikTok, you're just being like fed with so much information. And the more you click on something specific, so if it's about, fertility, then your whole page is just about fertility.
That's it's all you see. It's in your sleep. It's in your
or you're going on a trip and then all you see is like your destination that you're going to. But what are some things or like myths in the industry, or things like recommendations that you don't necessarily agree with, or things that are in the fertility industry, or, whether it be like, health and wellness or fertility, that you're just like, you don't agree with, or you feel like it's false information?
I do have one, Alexa, before you begin, because Taylor and I were joking about this. The ice bath. Like I just got the ice bath for Christmas. And I was so excited about it.
I'm like, you can do it.
Well, you're fine.
I tried it just because I felt like I wanted to try it, but
it's good for the guy, right? Like it is.
Yes. Now Matt, slow down on the sauna time.
Okay.
Yes.
Slow down on sauna time. Ice bath, you're cool. You're cool. You're cool. Taylor, on the other side, she can enjoy the sauna, and like I want a sauna so bad in my basement. Like, please tell Tim.
One of those like wood. I keep seeing like the wood. Yeah, just talk into his phone and he'll start getting ads for the song.
I'm gonna say it out loud, and then my phone's gonna track it. It's gonna send it to Tim. But so like that's definitely a thing. People are very passionate about that topic, the whole ice bath, and people do it pregnant. Now there's a lot to say on it, and then at the same time there's not a lot to say on it because the research isn't there. There's a lot of research that's been done on rats. Obviously, like they're still a mammal, but they're not human beings.
Yeah.
I think at the end of the day, we need to really be smart about it, because when you just break it down and think about it very simply, putting yourself in a submersive, like ice cold environment is stressful on the body. It's stressful no matter what. So when you already are part of the general health population in America, and most people's health, if you just look at it very broadly, their health is compromised in some way, shape, or form. Most people are walking around chronically stressed already. So and undernourished and dehydrated, like most people aren't doing the basics, and they're not doing the basics very well. If Taylor gets into an ice bath every so often, is it going to hurt her? Probably not. Probably not, because she already has the fundamentals very locked in. She's doing all those things. So for her, this is why, like, I also work with clients individually, because this goes into my other like third point that I was going to bring up. Like, one way isn't necessarily the best way. Like it has to be tailored to you. But at the end of the day, like I cannot recommend that. And it is not safe. It literally moves blood flow away from those vital organs.
Yeah.
It creates a lot of stress. And people are like, I feel so amazing afterwards. I'm like, it's because you got freaking out of the ice bath. You're starting to warm up. Like, this isn't hard. I would feel amazing too. I'm like, yes, grab me in a warm blanket now. Put me in the sauna. I feel amazing. Yeah, because got out. Yeah. Yeah, so the ice bath, I mean, that's definitely a controversial topic. You see pregnant women doing it. You see people who are, trying to conceive and they're still doing it. But as far as I go, like I'm never going to tell my clients to do something like that. I don't think it's
Yeah.
very smart. And when you're trying to optimize everything, that's not going to help you optimize.
Yeah.
So, and I'm looking forward to more research being done. We need more funding and we need the actual data, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's that too. Um, but the first thing I actually wrote down as far as like myths or anything I disagree with or whatever, the first thing that actually came to my mind that I don't really talk about a whole lot is just like all the forums. It's like all the mom spaces and like the forums and all the information like overload that you can get.
Yeah.
It's just A, like overwhelming, and B, filled with information that's also not necessarily helpful. And if you're not educated on the topic, it's hard for you to filter out the crap
Yeah.
that's in there. And then it's going to make you feel more stressed. And then it's going to make you feel like you need to do so many different things. Something that's new for me and my family right now is venturing into the homeschooling world. And let me tell you, I told my husband the other night, like, I got to get out of these groups. Like,
Yeah.
this is too much. This is
Yeah.
stressing me out at the end of the day. So, like, I opted out of some of them and I just kept the ones, like, a couple of them as a resource. And that, but like, filter it so you're not on like information overload because
Yeah.
it's going to
Yeah.
stress you out at the end of the day. It's going to make you feel like you need to do so many different things when really like the solution to most things is how are you going to actually simplify? And as women, like how are you going to be able to actually do less?
Yeah.
Not add more to your plate, but like
Yeah.
let's do
and
less.
what you personally need, because also like they'll be like, oh, this worked for me, this worked for me, so then you're like, then you're trying everything and it's like, well, none of that's actually working for me.
Yeah.
And I do think that in the forums it's very like 0 or 100, so it's people that feel very strongly one way and then other people that feel it's very hard to find people that are in the middle when it comes to certain topics. And you go into these forums and it's like 1000% like, just use the ice bath.
Yeah.
You should be doing ice baths, or you should never do ice bath.
Ever.
Where's the middle ground? Like, so, and that you can't find that, I feel like, in the forums, which makes it hard to determine what should I be doing, because everyone's saying I shouldn't be eating eggs, and then these people say I should be eating eggs. Like, where's
Yeah.
the middle ground? So
Yeah, that's why
think that,
customized coaching is so amazing because like if Taylor gets into an ice bath every so often, like she's probably gonna be fine. Like
yeah,
let's not freak out.
that's
But
why
you have
one-on-one
to,
coaching is, although it's not, I understand it's not feasible for everyone financially, it's the best case scenario, because you need, whether it's pregnancy or not, you need something tailored to you. And just because one thing works for one person, it might totally not work for another, or parts of it might work. So I think having that tailored approach is always going to be better, but I will say something's better than nothing. So even if you can just do, like, we have our workout subscription, or if just having something that's structured is better than nothing and just totally guessing on your own. But yeah, I do think being able to have that personalization is
huge.
Key.
It's huge.
It's huge because like I remember like I worked with many different like nurses, right? And you guys like are on 12-hour shifts in the hospital and like on your feet all day. And then she came on my call all stressed out that she's not able to get in like a certain amount of workouts per week. And I was like, well, how many steps a day are you getting in your job? And she's like, oh, easily like I average like 17,000. I was like, 17,000.
Yeah.
Wait, why are you going to try to do a 30-minute walk before your work when all you're doing is walking?
Mhm.
Yeah.
But she was like, oh, I never thought about it that way. I was like, why are you trying to add more to your plate? You got to work on actually de-stressing and lowering that cortisol in your body. And then if you can focus on 3 strength training sessions a week, golden.
Yeah.
That's great. But you don't need to be doing something every day when you have an active job. Now, my other ladies who are sedentary and are sitting at a desk all day, and it's hard for them to even get 5,000 steps. I'm like, okay, well, how can we tailor something to you?
Yep.
Yeah.
To ramp it up a little bit. But yeah, you have to just be aware, build that awareness of where you are at personally, drown out the rest of the noise and know what's going to work for you or what's not. Like back to, I know homeschooling isn't related to fitness, but like this is life. And I know like some of the moms were like, well, I just didn't even do anything in the morning because I just put my littlest down for nap and then we do all of the schoolwork, during nap time. And I was like, well, that's amazing. That works for her. I can't necessarily do that schedule right now.
Yeah.
Because mommy also needs that's her working time. So I need to do the stuff outside of that time for me. So I was like, well, I know that's not going to work for me. So you take bits and pieces, right?
Yeah.
Take the things that are going to serve you and just drown out the rest that aren't going to be good.
Yeah.
So
I love that point.
another myth that came up is like, oh, women always ovulate like on the same day. And I know this seems kind of elementary, but people actually don't realize that because you're not a textbook.
Yeah. It's just crazy that like none of this is taught in school. Like they're
No.
adding all this stuff, and I know that's like part of why you are homeschooling. They added all this curriculum, all this stuff, but they don't think it's would be helpful to teach a girl who's going through puberty. We never learned any of that. Like
No.
never.
Here's
You
a
just
stick
thought
of
you could get
deodorant.
pregnant at any time.
Yeah,
like,
no.
it's actually crazy that they don't
It
teach
is.
you a lick of any of this in school.
No.
And
So
then our mom, it's not like like my mom did a great job educating me about like worldly things that weren't taught in school. Our moms probably didn't even know, and that's why they couldn't teach us. So now I'm like, it's just mayhem.
I know, like we are the generation. We are like the
Yeah.
we're like, okay, well, this can't continue because first of all, I need to know about this, and then I'm also going to pass this on to my daughter so she knows.
Yeah. And it's so basic, and like even when you go to like the OB, they're not even now, they don't talk to you about that. Like it's not talked about. Like what I'm learning at least is obviously my own research now, but also just like on Instagram and TikTok. And again, it's a double-edged sword because you're getting information that is accurate, but then you're also getting information that's like that's crazy. But yeah, that is
and
like
our cycles are different from like each month too. That's why it's important to know your body, know your symptoms, know what, like having basic inventory of like, you know, how your month was, what's your stress level. It's all going to impact us.
Yeah.
Our bodies are very resilient. They're very strong. And at the same time, they're sensitive too.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know, so it's like, it's not like clockwork every single month, you know, like even if my average, you know, like I even was tracking changes this past year, like we had a lot of high stress events happen right in a row at the beginning of the year, and my cycle was definitely affected by that. And it's not until like I started noticing that you can start to notice trends after a few months. So I know it will take time to see if it's a trend or if there's like an anomaly or something that happens.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, this definitely seems to be a trend here. I need to do something. Like I need to be proactive about slowing down a little bit and giving my body some extra nourishment, like extra support to get it back to where I know what my normal is.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
So thankfully we're in that place, but that takes a while. That takes a number of months, like maybe like 4 or 5 months to even realize you're in that spot.
Yep.
And then a good few months, 3 or 4 months after that to really like see some positive changes too. So it takes time. This isn't, when you're doing it right, it's not an overnight thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just like health and fitness coaching, like weight loss, all that. It's not a light switch. It's not, you know, Amazon Prime. It's not any of that. It's like when you're doing it right, it takes a while and you have to embrace that process and trust that your body is going to respond, you know, in time.
Definitely.
I do love that. And like even going into the whole health and fitness kind of coaching stakes back to us a little bit. I know we wanted to talk to you about metabolism.
Yeah.
So
and just like how, so like that is huge in our daily conversations about like so many times women and men come under eating, under exercising, or over exercising, and metabolism is such a huge conversation that's being had now, I think, just in general. So would you say that applies similarly to you both, you know, trying to conceive, postpartum, you know, how does it play a role in that space as well?
Oh, for sure. And I feel like if not maybe even more in ways. Metabolism, like your overall lifestyle, nutrition is huge.
Yeah.
If I had to harp on anything, it'd be nutrition. Honestly, I have in my own process that I walk my own clients through, we double down on that first before we really focus on any sort of movement. We're getting structured in that because from a behavior change perspective, you know, people can't change everything at the same time.
Yeah.
It's got to feel doable. So in my process, what we do is we double down on stress and nervous system support first. Then we tackle nutrition and get them double down on that. Then we work on overall lifestyle, adding in other things, right? Maybe some structured workouts, right? Strength training.
Yep.
Getting them aware of like their overall steps in the day before they have to feel like they have to add in any set cardio. Yeah. Right. But like it's definitely a building process, but the better, it's never too late to start, no matter what phase of the journey that you're in. But the sooner you become aware of all these things, the sooner that you learn about nutrition and properly fueling yourself, the better it's going to be. The better your pregnancy will be, the better your postpartum period will be.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And if you're pregnant right now, so like I kind of started my nutrition journey, really learning a lot more about nutrition when I was pregnant. Mm-hmm. It wasn't before I was pregnant. Like I didn't know what I didn't know. Then I was pregnant, and then it was like my mentality changed. I was like, it's not just about me anymore. Like this is also about my child. And like I want to be putting the things in my body that's going to help set them up for success too, because it's amazing, but there are generational impacts. Yeah. What the mother consumes and what the father consumes matters down to a cellular level. Mm-hmm. DNA, and it will travel and pass on through generations to come. Like just dabbling in epigenetics, like that's a whole nother rabbit trail, but like there's definitely books on that y'all can look into, but it's like mind-blowing how crucial it is. I wrote down a few like great resources for people to write down as far as like good reads go and like good just books to have on hand.
Awesome.
Yeah. The first one was Real Food for Fertility. I love the one Real Food for Pregnancy. That's been fantastic for my clients. And as a resource, she has a ton of great recipes in there, but Real Food for Fertility, amazing book, amazing resource to have in your library. And the second one I wrote down was more so for like postpartum focus, but that one's called The First 40 Days, The Essential Art of Nourishing the New Mother. And it's something that we've really lost here in Western culture, at least in America. But that book, like the art of nourishing the mother and focusing on that, the first 40 days postpartum, like that book is fantastic. Like it's a beautiful resource to have to read now, like before you're even pregnant, because sometimes all that information can just be overwhelming when you're already pregnant, over it, and be like, oh my gosh, another thing to add to my plate. Like if anyone who's watching this, like if you can read that now, like it's never too early.
Yeah.
Like the things that I studied in college in my undergrad, like I always picked pregnancy related topics to research or whatever, because I was like, well, hopefully one day I'm in that boat and then like I'll just be more knowledgeable, right? Yeah. So like just get the information. And it's part of also stepping out in faith too. Stepping out in faith to believe that God is preparing you and for what is to come and what he's calling you to. Like there's no mistake that like the clients that I work with, they have such a heart for family. And it's beautiful, and that's not a mistake.
Yeah.
It's not a mistake. And God put that in you for a reason. And my clients are amazing because they fight for their family, they fight for their marriage, and they fight for their kids maybe before they even have kids. Yeah. Earthside. And it's just an amazing thing to be able to witness to. Like my clients make me better. They truly do. So like it's never too early. Those resources are great. They give you information. They give you little nuggets. Like take what you want. Take the recipes are amazing. Also, I think it's so interesting. Circling back to ice baths. The first 40 days, the essential art of nourishing the mother, it's all about warmth and like nourishing cozy foods and like amazing teas and like lactation things to help like your milk supply, but it's all like cozy and like warm, and nothing is like chilling the body, like it's not, it's like all about nourishing and slowing down and warming. Yep. And it's like, it just makes you feel so good inside, right? Yeah. I feel like awesome. Guys would be like, oh yeah, like that sounds good. That sounds but for the mom, it's essential. It's essential for healing. I think that's so telling because it's also super important when you're preparing for that season too. Mm-hmm. Like when you're preparing for your healthy pregnancy, when you're preparing for that baby to come, all of those things still reign true. So
I know you already provided the resources, which is amazing. Any other like tips, tricks, things like that for whether, I know it's so different for like preparing for pregnancy versus postpartum, but any like nuggets you want to leave for the listeners for like tips or tricks that you have?
there's a module in my course. I try to touch on like almost every area of wellness that could really be impacting your fertility and your health. One of the modules in there is about supporting your marriage and like building that foundation. And Tim and I read a book a couple years ago, and I highly recommend it. It's called Intimate Communion, and it is so good. It talks about masculine and feminine dynamics, like just like better understanding each other and how you are wired as a woman or how you are wired as a man. And that has helped our communication so much. And also just, I don't know, it's like we read that book together, like in the evenings and took turns like reading out loud to each other. And after that, we were like, there were so many times where we were like, oh my gosh, like, yes, like, thank you for like giving me the words to explain, like, this is exactly how I feel. This is exactly how I feel, right? Another thing that they don't really teach you,
Yeah.
I was like, this should be part of premarital counseling,
Yeah.
but it's really not. It's really
No.
not. So I share that book with all of my clients, and I link it for them. A number of those books that I said, I think that they're linked in my Amazon storefront.
And I'll put all your contact information.
Yeah, they could see it there, but that's
Cool.
another like fantastic book and something to not like sleep on, because in like preparing for pregnancy, preparing to build your family, like it can also be an extremely stressful time, and that's why I'm very passionate about pouring into your marriage and pouring into the relationship that you currently have, because the enemy works very hard to break apart families, break apart marriage. Like before you're married, I saw, I don't know who this is from. This is a quote like, before you're married, the enemy tries to bring you together, like intimately. But then as soon as you're married, like he does everything he can to wedge you apart.
Yeah.
And like I feel that. I feel that. At times we've gotten a lot better.
Yeah.
But I think it's just so important because that truly is a foundation and impacts your physical health.
Yeah.
It literally does. It literally does. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, Alexa, this was incredible. Seriously, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Thank you guys. I love everything that you're doing. It's amazing. I feel like, we're totally team effort over here.
Yeah.
Changing
Definitely.
lives. And I just really feel like this is part of like my own way of having a ministry and serving the women that I can, when God places them in my life. And I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful. And I'm still learning so much. I don't know, so maybe we should chat in a year and see what's changed.
Yeah, seriously.
Make it an annual thing.
Yeah.
Annual thing. Be like, what's going on?
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. But seriously, thank you so much again, guys. If you're watching on YouTube or listening on any of the streaming services, we'll have Alexa's all of her information below. So please go over to her Instagram. There's any way that you can, of course, see all the amazing stuff that she's posting on her Instagram. And again, check out her course. Check out all the awesome resources that she talked about. Yeah. Again, Alexa, thank you so much. I really hope everybody enjoyed today's episode, and we'll see you guys in the next one.